In my Netflix viewing, I watched the first 3 installments of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Why the first 3? Well, they're available on Netflix. Secondly, I actually have reviews for the rest of the films in the franchise somewhere in video form on the internet. That's all I can say about that. You know, maybe one of them was on Blip TV and got taken down. Anyways, starting 2001, Fast and Furious, directed by, I think it's Rob Cohen. He has a little shout out to himself in the movie. Has a cameo as a pizza delivery guy when they shut down a street. They are also seen watching one of his movies, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. But we start out, there's a shipment of DVDs coming in, DVD players. Now on cable, I noticed that they actually blur out the names on these boxes so that you don't think, why would anybody be stealing DVD players? Because back then they were like $200 a piece. Not so much anymore. They're like the toaster they give away when you sign up for a checking account at the credit union. So, yeah, these guys go in on these Civics and they hijack these semi-trucks that are transporting the stuff, harpoon the seat next to the driver, climb in, knock him out, steal the truck. I'm assuming they don't necessarily kill the trucker. But black Civics, everybody's in guise here. You can't really see who it is. It's a mystery. Cut to Paul Walker playing the role of Brian O'Connor. He's, Brian Spillner is his undercover name here. He's out trying to see how fast he can get this Mitsubishi Eclipse to go. It's all riced out. You know, this is at a time where the tuner scene was unknown to the general populace. So this movie introduced that to mainstream. And in fact, shot up the price of a lot of the vehicles in this movie. So he goes to this mechanic guy, says he needs things to go faster, all this stuff. He goes to this race at night. All these guys show up. There's Hector, there's Ja Rule. Before he goes to prison, I mean, he must really feel like he missed out on this franchise. Like, he probably thinks, hey, I could be a returning character. But this guy, Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, shows up. And, you know, actually, I think he was there earlier. They had like an altercation at this little diner he owns, where they serve terrible tuna fish sandwiches. And Brian kind of tries to ease his way in. He says, hey, I'm racing for my respect here. There's a lot of hokey lines in this, a lot of them delivered by Paul Walker. And that's part of why I think this installment that doesn't have Paul Walker is one of the stronger ones. So I'll get to that when I review that movie. Point is, he gets into the race, and it's like Star Wars. Like, they're supposed to be going quarter mile, but you got all this warp speed imagery and effects. It takes them like a minute to go quarter mile, so they'd be going hella slow. Like about as fast as I'm running. So it's just something to think about. The racing in this movie is largely drag racing. There are scenes with semi-truck hijacking that look pretty cool. I say this in retrospect because they use the actual semi-truck. They use actual cars. They talk up this race wars. They have drag races there. They bet pink slips. You know, this guy gets in trouble. This guy, Johnny Tran, he had actually gunned up Paul Walker's Eclipse earlier. So he teams up with Dom to build a Supra because he owes him a car because he lost that opening race there. And in actuality, the Supra becomes the real star of this movie, though that RX-7 that Dom has is pretty awesome. I know they've had a few of them they used in the movie, some of them not necessarily tuned up, but they went for pretty good money in auction recently. But yeah, RX-7, Supra, prices on those really went up due to this movie. Helped make the skyline known. One of the background guys, I can't remember if it's Leon or the guy that showed up in Fast 5. I can't remember if it's one of them two that have the skyline. This guy Leon, I was like, who the hell's this? He drives off, he saves Letty at the end when semi-truck shit goes bad. And that's the last you see of him. Doesn't show up for any other movies. What, does he have a crack problem? What's the deal? So, yeah, Detective Brian O'Connor here, he was undercover. He's working with Buffalo Bill, trying to figure out who's been knocking off these semi-trucks. He thinks it's Hector. He's spying on him. Gets caught by Vince, that's his name. Gets caught by Vince. Dom interrogates him. He says, oh, so you're going to go around and figure out what everybody's racing with for race wars? All right, let's go look at Johnny Tran. Like, hey, good idea. We believe you. Oh man, they got spoon engines. Whoa. So what? Everything's tuned up. You don't know what the real specs on it are going to be. So, they think it's Johnny Tran, right? Nope, wrong. Johnny Tran's just rich. Rich Asian guy in Los Angeles. What a shocker. At Race Wars, they have this battle that goes bad. This guy, forgot his name, races this stupid Golf that Malcolm in the Middle ended up buying. Loses it to him. He thought he was going to win Johnny Tran's S2000, but he didn't. He lost. So he cuts out. Dom and the crew end up doing the job without him. They're down a guy. Things are not going so well because the semi-truck driver. This is a pretty cool scene. I like the way how they don't really give this guy any lines. It's kind of an ominous feel. I think maybe a callback to Duel in some capacity. Because he's more frightening if he's just aggressive dude with a gun. He's over there shooting back at Vince, who's trying to climb in. This time, not under any kind of disguise, none of these people. How convenient is that? So that we can tell who's getting shot at. Movie style. That's why SWAT teams in movies, when the lead detective gets involved, except for this one really, don't really go undercover. They're not geared up. They don't even wear the damn helmet. You don't believe me? Take a look at it next time. So, Brian jumps into the rescue. He's with Mia, youngest sister of Dom there. This is Jordana Brewster at her height of powers. Really, I guess the hottest she ever looked was The Faculty. But she looks pretty good here. And then, boy, does she dip after this movie. I don't know, something about face creases come in hard and fast. I guess you could say they're fast and furious. So, Paul Walker rescues Vince, but has to call in a chopper to help him. Reveals that he's a cop. Now Dom is pissed because he trusts him like a brother, you know, all that. And Brian catches up with Dom, who sped off. He's gonna try to save the kid who lost his Volkswagen. Johnny Tran shows up with his psychotic buddy. I think they said cousin. Gun everybody up. And then at this point, it's like, okay, it's on. Let's chase him down, shoot him. You know, they run the against these motorcycles, and Dom's got his 900 horsepower Charger. Paul Walker's in the Supra, and it's a pretty decent chase. You know, I mean, there's real cars doing real car stuff. That's all right. It's not the most flamboyant thing ever, but it's okay. It's serviceable. A lot of this movie thinks its cool factor isn't just jamming music here and there. There'll be like music montage of people gathering, set to 3 different songs. Like, pick a song and go with it, or shorten your montage. But you have some decent score, actually. Well, Paul Walker catches up with Johnny Tran, shoots him, he's dead, tells people to call 911 anyways, gets into a quarter-mile chase with Dom. Dom says, hey, between here and there, it's a quarter mile. I'm going for it on green. He does. And they have a pretty close race, but it looks like the Super actually wins. Even though the running joke is that Dom never loses. So he's like, hey, you know, we made it. We beat this train that's crossing tracks. Not looking where he's going, hits a truck. There's a pretty sweet spiral, crashes, and this is the birth of Dom is Superman. I mean, he just cannot die. He just pulls himself out of the wreckage, and it looks like it only made him angry that he crashed. Not that he's hurt at all. Maybe his arms hurt it slightly, but he's angry more than anything else. But that's Dominic Toretto for you. Paul Walker gives him his car, I guess tells the cops, hey, he got away. And at the end of the movie, after the credits, there's a little final sequence there where you see that Dom has a Chevelle SS. He's in Mexico, he says, lives his life a quarter mile at a time, and that's all that matters. And you know what? I think a lot of you are going to think, hey, this is a good movie. It birthed this big franchise, all this stuff. And all I'm really thinking is, it largely ripped off Point Break. That's all this is. Point Break has its extreme sport. Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are doing the Johnny Utah Bodie stuff. And their extreme sport is cars. And that's what this is. You know, maybe if Point Break had made surfing and skydiving the sport of the 90s, you wouldn't have ended up with this franchise ripping it off. But you know, it's supposed to be kind of like, hey, they had the template, we stole it. And that's all you really got here. And I don't even think that the series hits its zenith in the first one. It takes a while for this series to really get going. You're getting bits and pieces added together until the pot gets full and they have the winning recipe. But for now, Fast and Furious from 2001, I give 2 out of 4 stars.